What is happening? What is happening, my friends? Welcome to another great episode of the Arrington Gavin podcast. This is the show where we discuss trending stories and thought provoking discussions in the fields of politics, sports, pop culture, and really all the above. Because the best thing about this show is all it is it's a great conversation. It's a conversation where I get to uh, uh, sit back and just share, my opinions, thoughts, and because there's a lot of interesting things going on in our society. So this is a awesome experience where we just kick back and have just a great conversation. But here and there, I also have the opportunities to bring on individuals that are doing great things in their community, their line of work, and just people I really know that, hey, I'm gonna have a great conversation with this individual. And on today's show, which I'm so excited, I have my dear friend Mr. Les Smith. He is currently a candidate for Chesapeake City Council. Chesapeake, Virginia is my hometown, my home city, and there is some not no city is perfect, but we need people like Mr. Smith in order to help improve issues that we have going on in our local cities. And I talk about all the time on this show. We hear a lot in the public eye about the federal government, right? We hear a lot about the presidential elections, and that's the only thing we should pay attention. But really, guys, the most important thing is to focus on your local government, what's happening in your backyard, what's happening in your communities. I fight 24/7, with my close friends and just young people to, hey, have an understanding, get involved, know who serves on your school board, know who serves on all your local committees, know who serves on your city councils, and it's extremely important. So I'm very excited to have Mr. Smith on. But before I bring him on, look, guys, I love my dad jokes, right? Now I'm a dog dad. I have a dog. My wife and I, we don't have kids yet, but I'm a dog dad, and I love a good dad joke. So I want to start, starting to show off with with a little humor, right? Show my corny side. So this joke on today's show. Okay, let me look. Okay, here it is. Why don't ants get sick? You wanna know why? They have all the right antibodies. That was a good one, right? That was a good one. All right. Y'all probably like, Arrington, it wasn't that funny. Yes, it was. Yes, it was. But also too, guys, the Arrington Gavin podcast brought to you by Rugged Evolution Beer Care. Rugged is the new smooth. Bringing to you new episodes every Monday, Wednesday, and Fridays, 10 a.m. via podcast, wherever you get your podcast, whether that's iHeart, Spotify, Apple, Odyssey, any podcast platform. Hey, you can tune into the Arrington Gavin podcast. New episodes drop again every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, 10 a.m. And then if you want to watch the video version of this program, you can do so those same days at 5 p.m. on our YouTube channel, R Smooth Club Media. That's the letter R and then Smooth Club Media. Also, for you Rumble subscribers out there, you can tune into the Arrington Gavin podcast on Rumble, on X, formerly known as Twitter, and also Facebook at our Smooth Club Podcast. We continue to grow the platform. This is episode 74, y'all. Episode 74. And yeah, we're gonna have a good convo. So again, without further ado, let me go ahead and bring on my guest. So before I bring him on, I want to give you a little bit about this gentleman. Mr. Les Smith, I've already mentioned he is a candidate for Chesapeake City Council, but he has served the community of Chesapeake for a long time. First as a deputy sheriff for 28 years. He's currently retired. He's a retired deputy sheriff, a deputy sheriff from the city of Chesapeake. Currently a business owner in the financial industry. He is the founder of Ground Zero, which is a development program. It is a nonprofit male mentoring program that he started to support young males in the city of Chesapeake, in the Chesapeake community. And he's also a former chairman for the Chesapeake Democratic Committee. So again, very involved with the community, very involved. And trust me, he has loads on his resume, but you're gonna have to go to his website to check that out, because look, it was too much. I wanted to have all the time to talk with Mr. Les. So without further ado, let me go ahead and bring on my dear friend, Mr. Les Smith. Mr. Smith, how you doing, sir?
Doing just great. Can you hear me? Can you hear me okay?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Yep.
Great, great. It's a pleasure to be with you
So
today. Thank you for having me.
excited to have you on. Excited to have you on. Um, let's get into it. So you are running for Chesapeake City Council. Let's first by ask, what is your reasons for running for local office?
The reason why I'm running Arrington, this is not my first time running. I want to mention that first. But the reason why I'm running is because the people are not getting questions answered. The people are not getting what they're asking for. And people are being ignored as far as what they're asking for. And I want to be that person that's going to listen and going to be the eyes, ears, and tongue at the table of city council, getting the things done that the city needs done based on listening to the people and making sure it actually takes place. That's not happening like it should be. And we're falling behind as far as how things are done in the city. We built, I guess you could say, we had the cart before the horse. And when I say that, I'm just saying the growth has gotten to the point to where we built quicker than we can provide the infrastructure. So I'm trying to right some of those wrongs.
Okay. Well said. Well said. Well, um, I couldn't agree more of the things that you're saying. Again, I myself am a lifelong resident of the city of Chesapeake, and as a well, I've spoken with you, kind of like my issues with the city, and the first thing is like, okay, we lack entertainment in the area. Now, I know Chesapeake has always been seen as the, the family oriented city. We don't do a lot of the, party, and I'm not talking about really like, nighttime, partying, but just something for, for the adults to enjoy. When I was younger, growing up in Chesapeake, it was like, okay, every time I was going to hang out with friends, I'll meet you at Lynn Haven Mall, or I'll meet you in Norfolk. It was never like, oh, meet me here in Chesapeake. It's like, nah, we really never had anything in Chesapeake. So I know the lack of activities for people is struggling around here. We recently just closed down the Regal Cinema, which was in the Greenbrier area for I think since '95 or '96. Um, we have nothing. The malls are slowly but surely, closing down. We do have somewhat of a a resurface with the growth of Summit Point, which is nice. Don't get me wrong, that's nice, but we could definitely use a little more. But I love what you said too on being a voice for the people, because there's so much stuff happening in the city of Chesapeake that not a lot of people are aware of, and there's no I don't know, there's no signs in the community, or no notes coming in our mail. Like, people are unaware of what happens. We just know, oh, that's opening up, oh, this is happening. We are unaware of the we're unaware of what new projects are coming to the city of Chesapeake, but we do know that taxes do increase, and certain prices are starting to increase, and we lose services.
Right. And I get what you're saying, Arrington. We have a lot of faults. It needs to be worked on. I
Hmm.
do believe in tooting your own horn to a certain extent. So when there's something happening, something new in Chesapeake, we do need to make the public more aware of it. We're leaving it up to the entrepreneur or the owners to do all the advertising, but we should do some too as a city. Because all that's going to do is bring in more tax revenue
Hmm.
for us. So we need to promote those businesses in that area. And we don't have enough eateries there, the entertainment. So we need to promote
Hmm.
we need to have a niche in Chesapeake, just like some of the other cities have. Virginia Beach has the beach. We need to have a scope.
Hmm.
Portsmouth now has a casino. Hampton has a arena arena of some type to where they can have activities. We have nothing in Chesapeake. So all our tax revenue dollars, our recreational dollars, are not going to other cities, and we will no longer be listed as the most boring city in the state of Virginia. I want to change that.
And that's a good thing. That's a good thing because we do happen. I think I was looking up recently. Chesapeake is number second, ranks number second as far as population wise, the largest city in the state of Virginia. And yes, I do believe we sometimes can be considered the most boring city. But hey, I'm still here. I love the city of Chesapeake. But I know we can do better. I want to get more into involved what's happening in city council. We have, in my opinion, a very unbalanced city council. The we you always want to have a good balance, even though I know candidates run as independents, but we know certain council members which side they lean more towards when it comes to political affiliations. We have a very unbalanced council. I believe out of out of the school board as well as city council, you have one Democrat now. And again, this show is very in the middle. I've always spoken on this show about, hey, I've always been a independent. I vote on person, not party. I'm friends with everybody, but I do think that with not having a perfect balance in council, you really don't. That's not the way council should work, especially when it comes to the city of Chesapeake. And also, a lot of the members that serve in office, they might only cover just one specific side of Chesapeake. They can't be the voice for say South Norfolk or Chesapeake Square, or there's literally like a bundle of candidates that are from the one side. So is something as far as what's the word I'm looking for, like the ward system or like the district system. I know the city of Virginia Beach has the district system. What Port no not Portsmouth, I'm sorry, Norfolk has it as well.
Norfolk
I
does.
believe those are, you said Norfolk does, as well as Virginia Beach. Has that been something you
Norfolk
would
does
want
as
to
well.
see
Yeah.
in the city of Chesapeake? Would that be something you want to see in the Chesapeake?
It is, Arrington. It is, and there are grassroots organizations right now working on trying to make that happen. It has been presented
Mm-hmm.
to council before, but they say that there was nothing they could do about it. It has to be done by state legislature. A
Mm-hmm.
bill went before state legislation. I think it may not have passed through. So if the city doesn't want to make the change or don't want to propose the change being made, it's going to have to be forced because, like you said, the city right now is top heavy, where
Mm-hmm.
most of the council people come from one part of the city. So as a result of that, that's the area that's going to get the most support when it comes
Mm-hmm.
down to the roads, the schools, and all the different public amenities of the city. It's going to be
Mm-hmm.
targeted to that area. They're receiving the votes. They're in office. Things going to go their way. So, like you said, areas like Deep Creek, South North, Western Branch,
Mm-hmm.
Indian River going to lack to a certain extent because they don't have personal. So, I'm in support of the wards.
Mm-hmm.
Um, when that happens, you have a representative, and it causes negotiate as
Mm-hmm.
opposed to it being a monopoly like it is right now.
Okay.
So, I want to see that
And
happen, and that
okay,
is a part of
and I
my
brought that up
platform.
because during,
To
yes sir, and I brought that up because the last election season there was a story that I read, and it was like the first time I feel like ever Chesapeake was in kind of in the local news in regards to something political. Um, we had two major voting locations, predominantly in majority black areas, that were being removed from early voting. And a lot of people didn't seem that was fair because their reason for doing so was the fact it was lack of
I recall
um
that.
it was lack of, I believe, response. Basically, vote. It was lack of exposure. Lack it wasn't a lot of people coming to vote early there, and so they said, hey, look, we're just gonna close shop, and we're not gonna do so there. Now, those neighborhoods, they had a lot of older voters that, it was essential for them to just, hey, we could walk there, cast my vote, or it wasn't a far commute for them to cast their vote, so it made them a little more difficult at that time. Do you think that was what do you did you agree with the reason why they did that, as far as remove the those locations, those early voting locations? Did was that something that, eh?
No, I didn't agree with it.
Mm-hmm,
I'm hearing just like everyone else is hearing what they said was the reason for it.
mm-hmm,
But you disenfranchising a community, a African American community, for the most part. So both that South Norfolk area part of off of Border Road, Campus Dollar Square area, along
mm-hmm,
with Camelot, you disenfranchise a predominantly African American, a predominantly Democratic voting mass of people when you did that. And the reason being that a lot of them didn't come out to vote, that's kind of like besides the point. They still should have had that opportunity to make it available to them as far as close proximity. The other reason they said it took place was because no one came to them making that request prior to the registrar going to council to say, this is the layout that I have. The year, the election before that, we were made aware soon enough to where we can go in and share with them our thoughts. And when I say we, I was a part of the Democratic committee that had representation that would go there and listen in when the election board decides where areas they're going to actually cover. And when we listened in at that particular time, the year before the last election, we said that Camelot needs to be a voting precinct because Major Hillard Library in Deep Creek was closed down. So they weren't going to have a voting place nowhere in the Deep Creek area. So that those folks would have to go to either Western Branch, drive down Cedar Road, or all the way down to Indian River to vote for early voting. And that was unfair. But if we weren't present to make that suggestion to go to Camelot, they would have had to go elsewhere to vote. And that would have been wrong. And they thought about it and they know it would have been wrong. So they did it. So when they're making those decisions, they need to make both parties aware of them making the decisions so it can be present to represent our respective communities. And that did not take place in 2022, unfortunately, or
wow.
2023. 2023.
Wow,
Yes.
wow. And it really is unfortunate, because I know for myself, when I'm always, encouraging friends and family, and just at least, young people, the importance of voting, and for examples like this, because I feel like a lot of people will always say, hey, I'm not gonna even attempt. I'm not gonna think about it, because hey, it's a bunch of unmade promises, and they think that on a local level, on a state level, and a federal level. Um, I know for myself, the older I get, I'm more aware. Like, I know exactly where my local registrar's office is. I wasn't aware of that, beforehand, but I made sure I began to get familiar with it, get familiar on my local city websites. So as far as when dates, when certain early voting, when it starts, what's the time. I mean, it's little things like that. I want to ask you, Mr. Les, how important really is the black vote, and also, how important is for young people to get more involved in, in an understanding about what, their local governments. Oh, y'all, think we are having some
I can't hear
technical.
you, Arrington.
Okay, hold on, no worries. We are having some technical difficulties with our guests. But what we can do, so we're gonna get him all checked out with that. Let me go ahead and do. Hold on, folks. Hold on. This is why we have these things. It's all good. It's all good. But I think Mr. Les was give me 1 second. I think what Mr. Les was saying was extremely, extremely important. We're gonna get him on shortly, guys. But um as you can hear the drive, you can hear the passion of what Mr. Les is speaking on. Again, a lifelong resident, a lifelong servant for the community and he had mentioned before, this is not his first time uh, running uh, for office. This is I believe his third, and he can correct me if I'm wrong. I know he said he's been running since 2016, if I'm not mistaken. He can correct me once he gets back on, but that just shows to me, not because a lot of people say, okay, why continue it, why continue going. Let me make sure if he receives my, hold on real quick, guys. And so he what he is doing is what we need to continue to see with a lot of candidates, is that we're not going to give up on you, and the motive of being a voice for the people, because a lot of people tend to, I don't know, they mean well, but and then it's like they get a little comfortable, and then there's some people that just truly want to pursue it for the power. We rarely see now people that serve our communities, that are leaders in, that are state leaders, that are federal leaders, doing a good deed, and so we just want to make sure that we want to be heard. We want to be heard. We might not, we you can't keep on telling us the titles and the headers of it. Yeah, you see the flowers. You can't continue to show the give us the headers and things of that nature. You have to give us details when it comes to what these policies that we're working on, right? You have to give us details, and you have to um you have to what there was a quote that I'm trying to remember from one of my favorite radio personnels, Joe Madison, the Black Eagle, and he had said that, put it where the goats can hear it, or something. Put it where the goats can get it. Oh, here is, hold on, we're gonna bring him back on. Hold on, folks. All righty, Mr. Les, can you hear me?
Yes, I can.
Awesome, awesome. So the last question that we had left off when you were here um was, how important is the black vote, right? Because we do have in our community, I feel as though sometimes a lack of effort when it comes to voting, and also really is it comes to what sometimes we don't have a, we don't have a knowledge of, okay, what exactly am I voting for? Who am I voting for? What am I voting for? And uh just the kind of like the basics. So I want to ask first, how important really is the black vote?
Oh, okay. So first, I want to say the black vote is important. I feel as though no candidate can win in Chesapeake without the black vote. Um, but we are still yet a minority. So all
Hmm.
we can do is compliment a candidate that's running. But say, for instance, me running, as opposed to possibly a white candidate or a candidate that lives in a certain part of the city. If their numbers come out in high number and areas that I would hope to get my votes from come out in low number, I'm going to lose. So I have to offset the areas of my competitor, whether he's white, come out in great. His numbers come out great, and then my numbers don't come out as high as they possibly can, if you get what I'm saying. So, and a lot of times when people of color stay home, we've given our vote to the other side. We have to realize that we got skin in the game too. We need to come out and vote, whether we win or lose, but we participated, which is most important. And then educate yourself on why you voting for people. It doesn't have to be about color. It doesn't have to be about party affiliation. But if you know somebody is truly visible as much as possible in your community, somebody that's listening to what you would like to see done in your neighborhood and in your city, these are the people you need to consider. Not the people that don't go outside of city council, but all they do is make the decisions, but people that will mix in and mingle with you and have everyday conversation because they're hearing and listening to what you're saying, and they're going to make a difference. And that's what I'm trying to do, is make a difference. I can't be everywhere. I'm only one person. But if someone reaches out to me, or if I'm in your vicinity, I will listen and I will do my best to get done what you asked of me. But just like those that are on council now can get some things done, I can do the same thing if I'm in that position. But I'm at a disadvantage when I'm not in that position. You ask me to do the things that someone that is in that position. So that's unfair. But what I'm saying is give me the opportunity to be in that position to when you ask me something, I can get it done. And I'm a native of Chesapeake. I lived here all my life. So I have skin in the game, and I've seen what happened over the years. It doesn't change unless we make the change. As I was sharing the other day with some folks, I don't steal. But in this game, you have to take because it's not going to be given to you until you actually vote. That's your take. That's how we get what we want and things in our community. And that's why I'm trying to come with all these different programs that's going to make a difference for education, employment, uh, more communication, and empowering our communities to where we have businesses in our area. We don't have food deserts. We have financial institutions in our area and our pharmacies in our area. So we have what we need in close proximity. So we're not lacking. And right now, some people have to drive a distance where some things should be in walking distance or a good 5-minute drive. That's not happening because certain people don't care as much about that community because you're not voting for them. That's the difference.
And
So
man,
get out and vote for who you think is going to do right by you, and you'll start seeing some changes.
I couldn't
That's
I
my
couldn't
piece.
I couldn't agree more, Mr. Les, because when you say that and I start thinking of okay, so off of Campostella Road near and for those who are are familiar with Chesapeake, Virginia, off Campostella Road, you have Bethany Baptist Church, you also have the Cuffey Center. And if you think about it, it's not a grocery store really nearby. If I'm not mistaken, that's a side where there's not a really close proximity. I think you have a gas station, but it's quite a commute for people to access, and as far as for groceries and things like that. And I mean, and that's just one specific area I can think of at the top of my head. But there are areas in the city of Chesapeake that, I mean, it's unfortunate. They look like ghost towns, and I'm like, wait a minute, why is this like maybe a few minutes away from another area? Why is it this not being spoken about in our area? And once again, we go back to as far as a good idea to possibly have a award system, because there are members that show favoritism of the area that they're from, and that's what their people voted for. And then you look at when they had removed access for early voting for those folks. I mean, it's almost like they're just saying, hey, look, as long as nobody says anything, we're just gonna keep on doing what we're doing here and keep it moving. And I mean, I'm actually on our city site right now, just because there will be, I believe, four seats that will be up for grabs, including the mayor of the city. But one of the members I'm looking at right now, she has been pretty much on council since '98, and which is I think that's a question, or that's something that is spoken a lot for young people, for young voters. They're like, okay, we need some fresh new faces in office, right? It's not really an age thing, but we need some fresh new faces. We've been seeing time and time again, same people within office. Okay, give a chance for the next up and coming individual. Mr. Les, what would how would you be pushing towards getting the young voters very passionate, very involved? How do you attract the voters from young people? Because we're in a time, I think, where you have some groups of young individuals that is passionate about voting. You have some that, again, they're like, well, I'm really kind of sick of the politics thing. I'm just gonna do my own thing. How do you get them more involved and say, hey, look, it's time to you have to do something about what's going on in your community? How do you get them involved? How do you get them geared up for that?
That's the $1 million question, Arrington. From that standpoint, as far as dealing with young folks, you need to get them involved. And that's easier said than done. I mean, I belong to a fraternity. That's going to get some in. Trying to college level. There are guidelines to where you can't reach out to a lot of high school people, but social media is one of the main ways. Sometimes you try through churches. There's limitations that way as well. But all you can do is just constantly pound them with information from a standpoint of social media, and they see something, so you got to go to where they are. Them, but it's very difficult. But once you latch on to a few young people, you got to get those young people to influence other young people, and that's kind of where it is with that piece. But the normal voters, which are the parents and the grandparents, you got to convince them to say, hey, when you was growing up, your parents made sure that you voted. Now you need to return the favor with your grandchildren and your children to get them out to the polls as well. Because during civil rights times, it was real hard for us to even vote. And when our ancestors went through what they went through so we can vote, people, baby boomers and or the Generation X, to a certain extent, they understand it. But the millennials going down, they could take it or leave it. So we have to pass on tradition of getting out to vote, because that's how we get things done in our communities. Otherwise, we're going to be dealing with all kinds of problems. And we don't want that. And the only way to alleviate that is convince people, educate people how important it is to vote. And when you don't vote, you voted in absentia. You voted by default to give the vote to the opposing party when you don't execute your vote.
Awesome. Well, Mr. Les, before I let you go,
yeah.
Well,
I was
go
gonna say I
ahead.
could go on and on, but I know time is up. And I said I know time is up, but I could go on and on. I'm sorry about the mishap, but it is what it is from that standpoint. But I do want folks to know my website so they can look me up, lessmithforoffice.com, lessmithforoffice.com. And I'm using the slogan right now, yes to less for city council.
You hear that, folks? Yes to less. And Mr. Les, I was gonna ask too, what will be your first priority once in office? What is the one thing, or maybe top two things that you are really really passionate about once you're in office, Councilman Smith, what will be your first priority?
Okay. First is affordable housing. Right now in the city of Chesapeake, when we building, everything is 300,000 plus. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So we got to have some housing in place, whether it's apartments or homes. Homes can even be condos, but something that people can afford to live in, middle income, lower income, disabled, homeless people. We got to get them off the streets. We got to get them out of some hotels and actually into homes where they can afford to live in Chesapeake as opposed to living in an opposing city and working in Chesapeake. They need to be able to afford to live here. So that's number one. Number two is when I was telling you about those programs, I'm going to put those programs in place because you got a lot of nonprofit organizations out here that are doing the work that the city of Chesapeake needs to be doing. And if they're not doing it, they need to be supporting them financially because they need that assistance. And we don't have the manpower as far as the city is concerned to get the work done, but we have the money to get it done. So pay these people that have these nonprofit organizations that's going to assist us with the mentoring, that's going to assist us with our young people, that's going to assist us with our education and our tutoring, that's going to get things done as far as keeping people off the streets and making sure that they're fed. That money needs to be made available. And while we're sitting on it, it doesn't make sense. So I will be the eyes and ears to see where the money goes. And you, as citizens, need to know what your tax dollars is being spent on. And that's where that line of communication comes in. At I will be reporting, I will be sharing because you need to be in the know as to why your money is spent and where it goes.
Look, you heard it here, folks. You heard it here, folks. Mr. Les, don't go anywhere. We're gonna chop it up a little bit after this program, but again, y'all go to lessmithforoffice.com. Am I correct? Awesome.
Yes.
Go to lessmithforoffice.com right now. If you are, especially if you are a resident of Chesapeake, please, because we are still at the at-large system. So, hey, regardless of which area you are in the city of Chesapeake, hey, check out Mr. Les's website, lessmithforoffice.com. See what he's going for, man. Hey, check, please, please, please. It's time for some change in our local council. And then for those who are not from the area and just say, hey, look, I enjoyed this conversation, I'm a huge fan of Mr. Smith and what he's going for, please donate. Again, the website is lessmithforoffice.com. This won't be the last time he will be on this program, y'all, but I just wanted to again bring awareness for especially for those who are from Chesapeake and in the Hampton Roads area of what we have happening in our city. And again, Mr. Les Smith, don't go anywhere, sir. We're going to chop it up a little later after the show. But I hope you all enjoyed this great conversation I had with Mr. Les Smith, again, candidate for Chesapeake City Council, a lifelong resident of the city of Chesapeake, but also a lifelong servant for the community of Chesapeake. And I'm telling you, this is the guy that you want to see in office here in the city of Chesapeake. I know I do. He has my vote. He has my vote already. I just, what he said was spot on as far as being a voice for the people within office, because we need that. We really do. We need that because not everybody is aware of what's happening in their communities. I know for me, I remember when we really quick before I end the show, I remember when we lost our recycling bins. Everybody had all these recycling bins just sitting around. They're like, hey, when is your recycling bin gonna get picked up? I don't know. No one knew. But you know what I did know? That our taxes kept on getting up. Our taxes kept on creeping. So we lost a luxury really with recycling bins. Yet we still, it continue to increase. So, hey, that's just my 2 cents. But again, I hope y'all enjoyed another great episode here on the Arrington Gavin podcast. This was episode 74, y'all. 74. Be sure to tune into new episodes of this podcast every Monday, Wednesday, Fridays. Again, 10 a.m. You see it down on the screen scrolling. 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time via podcast, whether that's iHeart, Spotify, Apple, Odyssey, wherever you listen to your podcast, you can tune into the show at 10 a.m. And then if you want to watch a video version of this podcast, you can by subscribing to us on our Smooth Club Media, our YouTube channel. Like, subscribe, please share with everybody. Rumble as well at the Arrington Gavin podcast. Where else? Our Smooth Club podcast on Facebook, and then our Smooth Club Media on X. Whew, I know that's a lot of stuff. But until next time, my friends, I will see you guys later. Oh, and don't forget to tune into my weekly radio show, In Your City, hosted by your guy, along with my good friends, comedian Ciroc Fox, Hustle Queen, Miss Michelle Young, and of course, we got to shout out our amazing producers, Cam Godley, and then also our cameraman, Mr. Alvin Hunter. That show, In Your City, airs every Sundays at 12 p.m. on WNSB 91.1 FM, the soul of VA. And don't worry, if you are not in the Hampton Roads area and you can't find us on your radio dial, look, just download the app. It's free. The WNSB app is free, so you can listen live from there. All right, until next time, y'all, I'm going to get out of here. Peace.